Well, that was impressive. Let's start by talking about Wembanyama. 38 points last night for the Spurs. They beat the Suns back-to-back matchups. I'll maybe spend a minute or two on the Suns at some point, but we have to spend a lot of time on Wembanyama's night. So I was tracking different things this morning after watching what happened because I got really into the Magic and Jazz. But this was like, I don't know if it's the coming out party. I guess it kind of is, in the NBA world. Like, it's not like people haven't been paying attention. The excitement of actually watching him play, the highs, more highs than some of the lows, wondering what this could really be. How good could the Spurs actually be? And now it feels like it's all kind of on the table after what he did last night. There was a play defensively where he actually got turned around by Durant. So his back was to Durant as Durant drove left to Wembanyama's body. And Wembanyama still was able to spin back around and deflect the ball. The Suns broadcast thought it was a foul. Maybe it was. But it reminded me of something that I saw when he was playing in France, where he was off the ball. He wasn't defending on the ball, but there was like an incredible cut behind him baseline, and it looked like he got burnt. It looked like he actually lost track of who he was defending, started ball watching, and then he somehow deflected the pass as he went to recover. So like he saw what was happening, even if it was too late, where every other player gives up a bucket there or gives up a good look, or at least in last night's case, Durant gets you completely turned around and he's by you, you're done. And in this case, Wembanyama, because of his body and his movement and his instincts, he was still able to deflect it. But that's not why you're here, not because of a deflection on defense. If he just runs in games, in transition, picking up stuff, getting out ahead of everybody, he's going to get 20 a game. That's just if he were to run the whole time. It was kind of what I thought Wiseman could do with the Warriors. But like, if you just keep running and he plays 30 minutes, he's going to get double digits. That did not happen there. Wembanyama is obviously better than James Wiseman. They went to him on the last possession of the half. The shot clock was off. They had Wembanyama bring the ball up, and he pulls up and he hits a three. So throughout the course of the night, it felt like there were more and more examples of like, what if we just try this? Or what if we let him do this? And it's not like they didn't know this. They've had him in training camp. They've had him in preseason games. This is game 5. But I guess collectively watching how his teammates played with him, it was the first time of like, can we try this? Oh, wait, this might work too. Or let's do this again. I want to run through some more of these plays. At 95-75, he brought the ball up. He pump fakes into a three on like the right break of the 3-point line. He passes it to Branham, who I like, and it ends up being a switch because Phoenix is kind of confused on like what's going to happen, their handoff or not. So the pump fake and the switch gets Phoenix kind of lost. It ends up with Grayson Allen on Wembanyama, who's now off the ball, and he takes like 2 steps from the 3-point line on a cut and gets the lob for a layup because at that point, Allen's toast. But Allen's toast in a switch when Wembanyama doesn't have the ball 25 feet away from the hoop. And that's one of the things that I really loved from last night is it felt like they were doing more of it, or at least they were throwing the ball to him a little bit more, where they're like, let's try to figure out a way to get him in a better advantage, not just an on-ball switch, get him some off-ball stuff. And I'm going to go over a couple of those. At 97-77, they just threw it to him. It was like a set in volleyball. It wasn't even like a great seal. He was just near the rim. And the guard that threw him the pass from San Antonio was just like, let me just throw it up there. And of course he caught it because nobody else can go up and get it. And it wasn't even that impressive other than it just looked unfair. At 99-84, he gets an extended baseline, so he's not deep into the post. His back is to the basket. Eubanks has him. Probably feels like he has the baseline sealed off, but in the NBA, they're more willing to give you the baseline on the drive. Where you grow up and it's like, don't give up baseline, don't give up baseline. Like the better the skill, the better level of basketball, they're more willing to let you drive baseline, knowing that it's still going to be really hard for you to come back and try to find a way to finish at the rim with all that size there. He goes baseline in a way that Eubanks doesn't even think is possible. And then he still kind of recovers, and yet Wembanyama finishes with the reverse layup. The next basket that he scored, they ran an off-ball thing where KD was on him. Booker ends up with him. So now he's got Booker deep. They throw it up to him again, and Wembanyama's back is to the rim. The rim is completely behind him. And he went up with one hand, caught it, and then just dropped it in. And it happened so fast. And the way that he caught the ball and had control of it, yet despite not facing the basket at all, just turns around and drops it. And you can see Booker being like, all right, I'm going to have to fight here. Like, you have to figure out a way to be ready for all of this off-ball stuff that they're doing that isn't super complicated. It's just, hey, all right, whatever. Because most of the time when you're playing in the league, you're like, okay, they're trying to get us in some switch here. But if our guy's playing good defense on the ball, maybe they cut off the entry pass, and almost 95% of the league can't throw a good entry pass anyway. You don't even have to throw good entry passes to him. Just throw it up, and he's going to catch it. Teams can't go small. They can't go small against him. Because not only are you helpless in some of the switches and that he's not just some big guy that doesn't have any of these movements, normally you feel like, okay, the disadvantage when you stay big and the other team goes small is they're going to pick on our big guy and bring him out on switches and then just attack him off the dribble. Good luck. Because I'd say since Kevin Garnett, Wembanyama has the best chance to hold up. It's not like there isn't going to be a time when a really quick guard gets past him. But even if you get past him, he's still behind you with that size and his anticipation where he's going to challenge a shot even when you think you have a good shot at it. Garnett's the best I've ever seen. And Garnett wasn't this big, but Garnett in his prime, when he got out and switched on a point guard, he just swallowed you up. It was actually something where it's like, hey, that 1-5 stuff we do against everybody else, let's not do it against Garnett. And you're not going to want to do it against San Antonio. At 126, 116, they ran kind of a block-to-block screen where Wembanyama is on the right block, Collins is on the left block, and they're just trying to figure out a way to maybe get a switch or an entry pass. But instead, Eubanks, who's actually sees it coming, like he knows what's about to happen, does a pretty good job because he's thinking, okay, how do I get caught in this switch? Are we switching? Okay, if we are, let me at least cut off some of his depth so it's not a catch right at the rim, but I also may have to front him. And then Wembanyama decides to do the thing that he wasn't expecting to do is he flashes to the free throw line, gets the ball, catch right into rhythm, up into a jump shot. And to Eubanks' credit, he actually got into position, but the shot was so quick and so fluid off of it that Eubanks didn't even get a chance to contest it. And the crazy thing of last night for the 38 points is that I went back and looked at the outside shooting. It wasn't like he even lit it up from outside. He was 5 of 14 on jumpers based on Russillo tracking data. I know this week I talked about him looking awkward getting into his offense. Yeah, because it did. My awkward counter was only really 2 possessions last night. So yeah, I still think there's going to be these times where it's like, can you really at your size 180 spin dribble in the lane with everybody swiping at you? Probably not. I don't know that he'll be able to do that. But after last night, like this is kind of what everybody was waiting for. And it got me thinking about something else too that I really like. I'm really happy that he's on this team. It's not about San Antonio. It's not about Pop, even though I think those are huge pluses, right? And trust me, there are plenty of us that were like, San Antonio gets another one of these guys, right? But when I thought about it just as a basketball fan for the other options that were out there, this is perfect for him because it's a team, despite their pedigree and their history and what San Antonio, the culture of it all, right? There weren't real aspirations for this team. Like a play-in game with Wembanyama, now, who knows? I mean, some people are going to start saying some ridiculous stuff. Are they really threatening the West? And I don't think I'm quite there yet, but there's a sliver of me that's like, I don't know. Should you not doubt anything about this team? I just don't think the rest of the team would be good enough to compete with Denver or maybe even, there's a Phoenix conversation that could be had here too. Booker just came back after the first game with the ankle injury. Beal still hasn't played. Phoenix is going to be an example of what I think will be a handful of teams where I've been saying this for years and it's never been more true. The regular season is not like the playoffs. They're 2 entirely different products. And I think we may have a Phoenix type team that, plugging guys in and out, like Durant had been cooking and then Booker comes back and then Beal's still watching. And you would have thought Phoenix, after losing the San Antonio game as bad as they did earlier in the week, that would have been more up for this, but they were down immediately. They got down huge. I know they came back and made it close, but there could be a month-long stretch where we start going, hey, Phoenix isn't really a contender, but we're not even seeing the version that we may even see in the playoffs if they're actually healthy going into the playoffs. So that's just a side piece on Phoenix a little bit. But when it comes to San Antonio and why Wembanyama, and I'm so happy for him being on this team, is that if it were a really good team that somehow lucked into a high lottery pick and ended up taking him number 1 overall, I don't think we would get to see him show off the way he showed off last night. his teammates, last night's game really felt like it was the first game. And I know it's not new that they just met the guy this week, but it just like, wait, maybe we can try this, or maybe we can do this, or let's just forget these post touches. Just throw it up to him at the rim, especially against what would be an unathletic front line against Phoenix. You know, there may be some other teams athletically you'd feel like can challenge some of those passes a little bit better than Phoenix could. But that's a big part of it. It's not like, well, look, we're trying to serve two things at the same time, where actually Golden State with some of those lottery picks, it's like, you know what? Even if you thought this would be easy because there'd be all this space, we have a standard every possession that we're playing to, and we're not letting you lottery guys screw this up for the dudes that are still chasing a ring. So it's not a situation like that. As rare as that would be for a team with championship or let's say conference championship appearance aspirations, that's not exactly San Antonio. The other thing is the rest of the guys around him. He's not on some team with a lottery pick guard that's worried about his next extension, who's going to go, yeah, this guy's nice, but I still got to get my 20 and I got to get some all-star votes because I want to get a shoe deal and I want to be able to do all these other things. Keldon Johnson already got his contract. Vassell already got his contract. Sohan's the next guy up, but Sohan is a lot like Scotty Barnes. I love those players. Every team should want those guys, but there's a ceiling on what they would be offensively, so they're not going to have their possessions get in the way, even though there's been some times with Sohan where I'm like, whoa, man, you really trying that? It's not going to be so in the way that it's detrimental to the opportunities for Wembanyama. Or imagine a team like the Wizards. So even if Wembanyama got a lot of looks, he'd have Jordan Poole going, nah, not today. I'm not interested. I'm not interested in being your teammate, even though we have the same uniform. If he had made his jumpers last night, he'd had 50. So I'm pumped for him. I'm pumped that it was just, look, it's not going to be like this. As I say it out loud, I'm like, it's not going to be like this every night. I don't think he's going to average 38, but there are going to be nights where the other team looks helpless. And that was certainly the case for Phoenix.